Please, you gotta move.
Welcome to the Pot Stirrer, where we mix it up with bold business leaders who are disrupting, defying, and differentiating in today's fiercely competitive marketplace.
Hi, and welcome to the Pot Stirrer. I'm Gary Magenta, and I'll be your host. My career has taken an unlikely path from restaurateur and cooking show host to change consultant, where I've spent the last 17 years at Root Inc. As the leader in organizational change, we help businesses to disrupt, defy, and differentiate in the marketplace. So what are we doing here in the kitchen? Well, the simple act of preparing food together creates natural conversation. It's not about business speak on the Pot Stirrer. We want to talk to leaders about what they're doing differently in the marketplace. We want to learn from them. And food is something we all have in common. It's the great equalizer. And you have to agree, the best conversations happen right here in the kitchen. And in this kitchen, in the past, we've hosted leaders from some of the world's largest organizations, companies that have been around for decades, even hundreds of years. Well, today, I've got a treat for you. We have a guest who founded his business just 6 years ago. There's a lot to learn from these new disruptors like Mizzen in Maine. Today, we have Kevin Lavelle, the CEO of Mizzen in Maine, here to join us to talk about how he's disrupting the menswear space. Mizzen in Maine is an American clothing company that's not just taking a piece of the pie in the menswear industry, they're creating an entirely new pie. Help me welcome our guest, Kevin Lavelle, CEO of Mizzen in Maine. Hi, Kevin.
Hey, Gary. Thanks for having me.
Welcome to the Pot Stirrer.
Glad to be here.
Good to have you, and I've been really eager to bring you on as a guest because we have a lot in common.
We do.
We do. So we both like to cook, yes?
Absolutely.
Okay, you're in the garment industry?
I am.
I grew up in the garment industry. You lived in Sarasota, Florida?
I grew up there. Great place to grow up.
How many years?
I was there for about 15 years.
And I lived there for 11 years. It's almost like we're twins.
Many people have thought that.
So, today we get to cook together, and I'm really excited because you're the first guest on the show that actually feels really comfortable in the kitchen, so you're gonna do a lot of cooking today.
Looking forward to it.
All right, so before we get into the recipes, tell me a little bit about Mizzen in Maine, and maybe you can start with the name. How did that come about?
So we created the world's first performance fabric dress shirt, a dress shirt that looks traditional but performs at the highest levels. It's a dress shirt that's moisture wicking, it's wrinkle free, it stretches, you don't have to iron it or dry clean it. And when we created the name, we wanted it to be something that felt like it had heritage and had history, because when guys dress up, they want to look professional, they want to look their best.
Yeah.
So Mizzen in Maine, they're sails on a sailboat. It's got a classic East Coast kind of feel and heritage to it, and it's been quite a ride.
So it's a classic shirt, but there's actually nothing classic about the fabric or the construction or the wearability.
Absolutely. Everything is 100% performance-based. So what you wear on the athletic field, what guys wear at the ultimate levels of athletic performance, now you can wear in a dress shirt.
All right, so I want to talk about all of that.
Yep.
And first I want to get to the recipe. We have a couple of simple ingredients here that we're going to put together. Milk, butter, sugar, salt, vanilla, brioche bread cubes, some eggs, and raisins that have been soaking overnight in rum.
Excellent.
So we want them nice and plump because we're going to bake with them, and the rum obviously gives it another dimension of flavor and also keeps them nice and juicy during the baking process. So I'm heating this pan up and I'm using a low heat, and I'm going to put in 2 cups of milk, and we're going to put into that 2 tablespoons of butter approximately. And to that we're going to add sugar, and we're going to do a pinch or so of salt as well. And then to this, we're going to add just a teaspoon of vanilla. I was doing some research on vanilla. I was just curious. This is a vanilla bean. How many of these does it take to make an ounce of vanilla extract? And it's 13 of these.
It's amazing.
And so what else I found out, Kevin, is there's 150 varieties of these. But what was fascinating is that there's only about 2 used for commercial use for the kitchen. So really interesting. It's powerful, that vanilla bean. So Kevin, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get this all incorporated here. I'm going to get the sugar dissolved, the butter melted, the vanilla infused in all of this. And while I'm doing that, if you could take this beautifully cubed brioche bread and just make piles
You
in
got
the
it.
center of this silicone tray and just make these mounds. And while you're doing that, I'm going to crack these 2 eggs, and I'm going to try the one-handed crack. All right?
You are a skilled chef.
So I think about it as creating a little crack here that has hinges on the side. So you create the crack and then open it like a hinge.
It's a thing of beauty.
It is nice, isn't it? Let's see if I can go 2 for 2. So open it just like that. Okay, how about if you start by whisking that, and let me talk to you a little bit about tempering. So we're going to make sure that the eggs don't scramble, and we're going to still incorporate it in this warm mixture. So in order to do that, we have to add just a little bit of liquid at a time while you continue to whisk the eggs. So I'll shut the flame off. We don't want to scramble, so we just start with a little bit and whisk quickly. There you go. Any scrambling happening?
No, it's looking
No,
good.
just incorporating it. So once that's incorporated, keep whisking just a little bit more. And we want to be careful not to add too much liquid too quickly. So we'll go ahead now that that's incorporated, add a little bit more. No chunks, no scrambling. The egg is not cooking. Keep going. I'm going to add a little bit more now because it's tempering, and we can add a little bit more aggressively at this point.
It's looking good.
There you go. And at this point, what we'll do is we'll take this and we'll go ahead and we'll incorporate it into the pan, and I'm whisking and keeping it moving. And we have been successful, Kevin.
Success.
So let's take these brioche cubes and now soak them with this warm mixture. And we're going to use about a full ladle, but we're going to add it in just a half ladle at a time. And the goal is to have all of the liquid gone. There you go. Do you see it just fill up on the edges there? And then we're going to top this with those raisins that have been soaking in rum overnight. So I'm going to ask you to take that job and just use your fingers. There you go. Shake off that excess liquid and add those raisins right to the top, if you would.
Perfect.
Nice. Oh, look how nice that looks. You get a nice color contrast. There's going to be a texture contrast, a little concentration of sweetness. Okay, so we've preheated our oven to 350, and we're going to pop this beautiful mixture of bread pudding into the oven. And Kevin, while it's cooking, I'm going to let you take over and put our bananas Foster together. So we've got the bananas here. Take us through all the ingredients that we're going to use.
Absolutely. So we've got some bananas, a very healthy dose of brown sugar. It's a cup of brown sugar. We'll use some of the butter that you used earlier, cinnamon, and then banana liqueur and a dark rum. So we'll start by cutting the bananas.
All right.
And again, you want to make sure that they are ripe but not too ripe. We got a great banana here.
That looks fantastic.
No bruises. And we're going to cut it on the diagonal because it's a great way to get a little bit more of the softer side open, and you can soak up even more of the mixture that we're about to cook
So
this in.
you're using a wider space to get more of the flavor
Yes.
from all of this soaked
Yes.
into that banana.
Yes,
Nice.
absolutely. So we'll pop that in there for later.
Okay, let's trade places.
Okay, very
Come on
good.
over here, and then you tell me what you need, what you want me to do, and I'm going to do it.
Excellent. Well, I'm going to start this up. So really you need just about a half a stick of butter, and we'll pop this in here. You want to get the butter to start softening. You don't want to cook the butter. You really just want it to melt. And once it starts melting a little bit, I'll kind of move it around to get it going.
So we're not going to brown the butter.
No, we do not want to
We're
brown the butter.
just going to melt it.
Yep. So I'm cutting up some of this butter just to try and make sure that it is, we get as much surface area so it's melting appropriately. And then if you want to go ahead and pop that sugar in, just pop the whole thing in.
So we've got this full cup of sugar and a half a stick of butter
And I'm
in
just
there.
going to cut up the sugar. So again, we spread it out appropriately.
Oh, it's already melting right into the butter. It's beautiful.
And actually at this point, I'll grab a spatula. Yeah, this would be great. So now we're just going to spread this out. And if you want to go ahead and add the cinnamon in on top.
Okay, so cinnamon on top of the sugar and the melted butter.
So as this starts to go, one thing that will help this start to cook a little bit faster, because now you want to start to do a low cook of the sugar. Let's go ahead and pour the banana liqueur in.
Yeah, it just smells like 1,000 bananas. It's great.
And with this, I'm on low heat, but there might be a few times that I just lift it off the heat just to make sure it doesn't go too crazy on me.
So that really just loosened up that sugar
Yeah.
and butter mixture now. It's become more of a sauce already.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is great. And it's surprising how easy this sauce is to make.
Yeah.
There are ingredients that most people have around the house, maybe not the banana liqueur. If you don't have banana liqueur, do you have another substitute that you put in here?
I've never pushed on a substitute. I've made it with just no banana liqueur when I didn't have any and wasn't able to go get
Just
some.
the rum?
Just the rum. And
How does that turn out?
It's still fine. It's just better when you have the full scope of the ingredients. Okay. So if you want to go ahead and put the bananas in gently.
Yeah, so I want to put it away so we don't pour it away. We don't have any splash there.
And then we're just going to start to cover the bananas in the sauce. Yeah, so it'll be about 1.5 to 2 minutes or so in this, because we want it to really, we want the bananas to soften. We want them to cook just a little bit, and they're cooking in this very delicious mixture.
So while we're talking about combining different things, maybe you can tell us a little bit about how you're combining this really revolutionary product that you've created and a differentiated customer experience.
Yeah, so Mizzen & Main launched as a digitally native vertical brand, a term coined a few years ago by another DNVB founder. And that really means we started online and we're vertically integrated. And we then expanded early on to be able to sell to other retailers through wholesale channels. And then we have some of our own stores as well. And we want them to have as many shirts in their closet as they possibly can.
So you're focused on the end customer's need as opposed to sort of traditional territorial issues of who's going to carry it where.
Absolutely, and I think that's why we've been so successful with our retail partners.
Yeah.
So this is starting to boil, so this is at a really great spot to go ahead and add that rum. But before you do, I'm going to grab the lighter, because what we want to do, I'm going to turn the heat off. What we want to do is pour that rum in fairly quickly, and I'm going to go ahead and light it, because we want the alcohol to burn off and we want the flavor. Now, it's pretty bright in here with all the lights, but you can see we're starting to get a little bit of that
really
flame.
Good flame on that.
And that just is, it's cooking off that alcohol, it's burning it off, so we get all the flavor of the rum without getting too drunk from a dessert.
So burning off the alcohol is sort of tricky because you need it just at the right temperature. It can't be so hot that the alcohol is just naturally burnt off, and it can't be so cool that it won't ignite.
Right.
So you got a nice flame on that, and you burn off the alcohol, and does that burn off the flavor?
No, the great part is it keeps the flavor in, but then just burns off that alcohol, and that makes it a very flavorful dessert, and there's certainly still some alcohol in here, but not too potent.
So this looks great. You can actually see that the bananas have absorbed that beautiful sauce. Mm-hmm. Let's plate this up, because I'm really eager to sit down with you and learn more about you and Mizzen & Main.
Very good.
Wow, they are beautiful. They are golden
look at that.
brown. We're gonna use these and create little pockets while they're warm. Put some dents right up top here so that we can pour in the bananas. These look fantastic. Let's take them over, have a seat, and talk about Mizzen & Main.
Let's do it.
So Kevin, I really enjoyed being in the kitchen with you today and making this great dessert. It sort of combines your favorite dessert, Bananas Foster, with one of mine, bread pudding. So I'm really anxious to try this and like to eat it while we're talking today. So talking with your mouth full is totally allowed on the pot stir.
Excellent.
So let's take a bite and see how we did.
Let's dig in.
Wow, this is really good. The bananas are completely coated and there's lots of nice sauce for the bread pudding to soak up.
Absolutely delicious.
This is really good. So at home, you serve this with ice cream.
Yes.
How about next time you do with bread pudding with a scoop of ice cream on the side? What do you think?
That's the new dish.
Okay, so I'm gonna make it the same way at home too. Okay, so we're gonna get down to business now. I've got questions, and I know viewers wanna know more about you as a leader and wanna know more about Mizzen & Main. So let's just start out with this big, audacious move that you made. You went into the menswear space where the big guns are, the big companies with big money.
Yep.
What made you take on that kind of challenge and that kind of risk?
I thought a lot about, Clayton Christensen talks about the innovator's dilemma, and it's what prevents big businesses from pursuing new initiatives and stops entrepreneurs from starting businesses themselves. And I knew someone would come for me. I knew it would be hard, and I knew the competition was intense, but I knew this had a chance. I knew I was the right person to give it that shot. And as I said earlier, it's been quite a ride.
So that innovator's dilemma is what we're really focused on here on the Potstar, because so many existing companies get lulled into complacency, or they're afraid to start something new. But those new disruptors like you just dive right in.
Yep.
So what was the industry's response? You showed up and you said, hey, performance is the way of the future.
Yep, that was exactly what happened. Was I beat my chest at the foothills of the industry. When we went to our first trade show, we were basically laughed out of the building. All of the experts in the industry, the buyers and the trend setters and the journalists told us we were absolutely crazy. No one would ever wear performance menswear. We were selling online at the same time, and our customers were telling us how much they loved the product. So I knew we just needed to keep showing up and showing the way of the future. And here we are 6 years later in almost 600 retail doors. Some of those, I remember the buyers who very specifically told me their customers would never wear the product, and now they're stocking our product, which is exciting. And almost every major company is starting to incorporate synthetics in some capacity, not quite like ours across the board, but it's because this is what customers want.
So not only did their customers say yes and want to buy, but some of the manufacturers are saying, we better catch on to this pretty quickly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So tell me where customer experience fits in. Oftentimes disruptors have a really new innovative product like yours. It's great. But customers, we know at Root that customers are looking also for a great customer experience as well, beyond the product. How are you delivering that? What's your philosophy there?
We always want to do right by our customers whenever possible, and that starts with how we get the product to them. So we sell online, we have our own stores, and we're in about 600 stores across the country, including every Nordstrom door, which is a great, great partner to have. That means however a customer wants to shop, whether they never want to set foot in a store or they only want to do their shopping in stores, we're there. We meet the customer where they are. It's a customer-centric experience.
So you're breaking down those traditional boundaries of wholesale, retail, online, in-store.
Absolutely.
Doing all of it and saying we have to be where our customer wants us.
Yes, and a lot of brands end up having kind of a contentious relationship with their retail partners.
Sure.
We just want every guy in the country and eventually the world to be wearing Mizzen
That's
and Main.
part of the philosophy. We're not competing with you. We're not here to go head-to-head with you. We're here to deliver to the customer and what their needs are.
Yes.
Yeah, very interesting. Thank you. So a lot of great disruptors like you aren't necessarily great leaders. They've got a great idea, they've got a passion, but when it comes to sort of running things, it breaks down. So if you were to get a review from your stakeholders, what would they say?
I actually, I love getting feedback, so I get reviews from my team, my leadership team, and actually my board as well. And they certainly give me kudos for where we are today, but never let up on giving me some constructive criticism. And the biggest items for me really are making sure I'm letting go of things, not trying to still stay involved in everything. But then something we've changed quite a bit based on that feedback was bringing in some retail expertise and some experience of people who know what they're talking about in this industry. For the first few years, we were just knocking down walls and going. But eventually, those people who told us we were crazy, we need some people on our team who know what they think, because it's a very complex industry.
So what I'm hearing is letting go a little bit more, which is tough when it's your baby.
Yes.
And bringing in some of those traditional retail people and using their expertise.
Yes.
Yeah, nice feedback. I've got a lightning round of questions for you
I love lightning rounds. Excellent.
that I think are going to be fun.
Great.
So, if you had one round trip on a time machine and you could only travel forward or backward, which direction would you go and why?
I've got to be able to take my family with me, but I would go to the future. Even 100 years ago, forget past that, it was a rough time to be alive, from modern medicine to longevity. So I'm excited to see what the future holds.
Going to the future only if your family can come.
Yes.
Okay, they're included in the one trip. Okay, next question. What scares the shit out of you?
So I would say it's the, as Taleb calls it, the black swan events, the things that in retrospect seemed obvious. So the crash of '08, the dot-com crash, those things seem obvious in retrospect, but were not while they were happening or leading up to it. What are the things next week, next month, next year that we are not planning for that will change everything? The evolution of trends and how people shop and online, that's just business changes, but it's those black swan events that scare me.
So you're not afraid to adopt or adapt to new trends, it's the unknowns.
Yes.
Last lightning round question.
Okay.
You ready? Buckle your seatbelt for this one.
It's lightning round, let's go.
All right. A penguin walks through the door of this studio right now, and he's wearing a sombrero. What does he say, and why is he here?
That's the best lightning round question I've gotten. I would say he's going to look at me and declare in his penguin voice, I've walked a long way to see the best damn dress shirt, and I am not disappointed.
Nice.
Yes.
I'm sure he will. It's been great having you. Thank you so much for bringing your recipe, your
Thanks for
energy,
making it better.
your talent, your passion, your great product, and helping us all learn a little bit more about what great disruptors do.
You got it, Gary. Thank you very much.
Thanks
This was
for
a lot
being
of
here.
fun.
Take care.